everyone. Welcome to Take and Make Crafts with Miss Liz at the Rockville Center Public Library. Today we're going to do a craft. In your kit you will have everything you need to make a lighthouse. And it's a nightlight lighthouse. This lights up. So that even could be a nightlight for you if you like. So, it's right here. In your kit, get your kit, you'll have written instructions. You will have a red cup, and you will have a clear cup, and you'll have a little night light, a little tea light, but it lights up, so let's show you. Because I don't know if you can tell on here, but it's a really pretty flickering light, which is make a really nice night light too. And you will have a piece of white paper so that you can cut them and make these stripes like I did. And then a little piece of black paper that you will cut out however you like. I made a little door and the windows, and like I said, you'll have your instructions too. So that's how you'll do your lighthouse, and I hope you like it. Now let's read some books about lighthouses. First one's called Hello Lighthouse. It's a very beautiful book. It actually won the Caldecott Medal, which is the best picture book of its year. On the highest rock of a tiny island at the edge of the world stands a lighthouse. It is built to last forever, sending its light out over the sea, guiding the ships on their way. From dusk to dawn, the lighthouse beams. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, lighthouse. Can you see it with its light coming out? And what it's doing is warning boats to not come too close because there's rocks there. The new keeper arrives to replace the old, to carry on tending the light. He polishes the lens and refills the oil and trims the burned end of the wick. Throughout the night, he winds the clockwork that keeps the lamp in motion. During the day, he gives the round rooms a fresh coat of sea green paint. He writes in the logbook and threads his needle and listens to the gathering wind. So if you can see, they're showing you a cutout of what's inside the lighthouse, all the different rooms high up. And here's another cutout of him sitting and sewing, because there's lots of repair work to do when you run a lighthouse. It's a very important job. The wind takes a deep breath and blows and blows and blows. Hello, hello, hello. The birds circle it. Can you see the steps going up the rocks to the lighthouse? The keeper boils water and drinks his tea as he fishes for cod from the window. He fishes right out the window to get his food. He sets the table and hums a tune and wishes for someone to talk to. He's very lonely. Every few days he writes her a letter and throws it into the waves. He tends the light and writes in the logbook and waits for her reply. The sky grows dark and the waves rise and crash. Hello, hello, hello. Can you see him up there? The keeper looks through his telescope. The tender arrives, bringing oil and flour and pork and beans and his wife. They lower her. Do you see how she's on this? That's crazy. He shows her around the round rooms of their house. He tends the light and writes in the logbook and sets the table for two. They look very happy. The fog makes everything disappear. A bell must be rung to warn the ships. Clang, clang, clang. The keeper, all right, we got that one. And we saw the fog. That's really dangerous. If ships can't see the light from the lighthouse, they might crash into the rocks. One thick night, disaster strikes. A boat is wrecked on the rocks. Not a moment to lose. The keeper rows out. He pulls 3 sailors from the deep black sea. He tends the light and writes in his logbook and wraps the sailors in blankets. He saved their lives. The sea turns into a carpet of ice. Hello, hello, hello. It's so cold there. One dawn, the keeper begins to sneeze. By dusk, he is terribly ill. His wife is everywhere all at once, running up and down the spiral stairs. She tends the light. She feeds him broth and chips ice off the lantern room windows. She sits by his side and writes in the logbook the minute his fever breaks. Wow, she's very busy taking care of him and the lighthouse. The icebergs pass by on their journey south. The whales pass by on their journey north. Hello, hello, hello. See those whales and the big iceberg. Inside the lighthouse, the woman walks around and around the room. Her husband boils water and helps her breathe in. Breathe in and out. He tends the light and writes in the logbook. Looks like she's gonna have a baby. And notes the birth of their child. There's that little baby. The sky erupts in swirls of green. Hello, hello, hello. The tender arrives bringing oil and flour and pork and beans and the mail. Along with fresh books and news from the land, there's an unexpected letter with the Coast Guard's seal. The keeper winds the clockwork and polishes the lens just as he's always done. He tends the light and writes in the logbook, but he knows that it's not for long. Together, they watch the horizon, looking for a ship. The Coast Guard arrives with a brand new light and installs the machine to run it. No lamp to fill, no wick to trim. The keeper's work is done. He climbs to the top of the spiral stairs and closes the logbook for good. They pack their belongings into the boat and wave farewell to the seagulls. Beyond the breakers, they all look up. Goodbye, lighthouse. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. On the highest rock of the tiny island, at the edge of the world, stands a lighthouse. It is built to last forever, sending its light out to the sea. The fog rolls in and the fog rolls out. The waves rise and crash. The wind blows and blows. Hello, hello, hello. Over the waves, across the bay, a light on the land beams back. Hello, hello, lighthouse. That's where the keeper and his family live now, and they can see a lighthouse that they used to live in. And there they are, looking at their lighthouse. The end. It's a really good book, Hello, Lighthouse by Sophie Blackall, and it has lots of good information in the back too about real lighthouses. Now this one's called Lighthouse by Robert Munsch. It's a story of remembrance. In the middle of the night, Sarah woke up, put a flower in her hair, and went into her mother and father's bedroom. She sat on her father's side of the bed for a long time, just staring at him. Finally, he woke up and said, "Sarah, what's going on? It's the middle of the night." "Well," said Sarah, "you always told me how Grandpa used to take you out to the lighthouse in the middle of the night. And tonight is the night to take me." Her father lay still for a long time, and then he said, "Yes, I think this is the night." So they got dressed very quietly and went out to the car and drove off. How fun. There was no one else around. No cars were out, and the streetlights made the sea fog glow. When Grandpa took me to the lighthouse, there were no streetlights, and there were no donut shops open in the middle of the night, said Sarah's father. "But he would have stopped there if there had been a donut shop, right?" "Right," said her dad. And there they go to the donut shop first. They stopped at a donut shop and bought a bag of maple icing donuts and some coffee. They were the only customers there. "When I was little, Grandpa used to give me coffee, and it always tasted terrible," said Sarah's dad. So they both drank some coffee for Grandpa. Dad's coffee tasted good, and Sarah's coffee tasted terrible. Then they drove out of town till they came to the road that led to the lighthouse. You can see the light far off in the distance. "Grandpa always said we should walk up the road to the lighthouse," said Sarah's father. "Right," said Sarah. So they parked the car and walked up through the fog to the lighthouse. Then they sat on top of the cliff above the beach and listened to the waves crash on the rocks. Sarah ate the donut, and her father drank more coffee. All the times Grandpa took me with him, said Sarah's father, we never once got to the top of the lighthouse. The door was always locked. We tried to open it, but it was always locked. I'm gonna try the door, said Sarah. So she walked over and tried the knob, and the door opened. Sarah and her dad stood looking at the doorway. What now, said Sarah. Grandpa would have gone up, said Sarah's dad. So let's go up, said Sarah. Look at that winding staircase. They walked up the winding staircase, round and round and round, until finally they stood in front of the light. I am so sorry. Excuse me. I can see forever, said Sarah. Can Grandpa see me? I don't know, said her father. Can Grandpa hear me, said Sarah, and then she yelled really loud, Grandpa! She's trying to reach him up in heaven. They waited a long time. He's not going to answer, said her dad. Here they are, all the way up the tippy top of the lighthouse. That's so lucky. They stood for a long time and listened to the foghorn and looked at the mist and the ocean. Then Sarah took the flower from her hair, the flower she had saved from her grandfather's funeral, and threw it way out over the ocean. When I grow up, I'm gonna have a kid, and someday we will come here in the middle of the night, said Sarah. Right, said her father. And then, covered with dew from the fog and smelling like seaweed, they went home to bed. She's already asleep. The end. And that's a picture of her dad with her grandpa when he was a little boy. The end. And that's The Lighthouse by Robert Munsch. This last book is called Gracie, a Lighthouse Cat by Ruth Brown. See that lighthouse right there, red and white like ours is going to be. Let's see. Oh, there she is, just sitting in the window. Outside, the storm was raging, but inside the lighthouse, Gracie and her kitten were warm and snug in the cozy parlor. Sounds nice. It does look very cozy. Gracie was sleepy, but her kitten was not. When he heard the sound of voices and running footsteps, he decided to investigate. It's a curious kitten, because he could see out the window something was happening with the ship. Down and down and down he went, following the sounds, following a person who's running down the steps, until he stopped at the front door. The gale force winds, the driving rain, and the crashing waves were terrifying. He turned to run back upstairs when... Crash! The wind caught the door and slammed it shut, hurling him out into the storm. Oh no, the little kitten out in the storm. Gracie woke with a jump. She was alone. Where was her kitten? She called to him, but there was no answer. She searched everywhere, all the way down to the cellar, but still there was no reply. Gracie climbed out of the cellar window. She called and called to her kitten, but her frantic cries were drowned out by the howling wind. It was hopeless. Just as she was about to give up her desperate search, she saw something. Did she see that little tiny kitten so wet and scared? It was her kitten, cold, terrified, and soaking wet. He was clinging to the slippery rocks. Gently, Gracie picked him up and clawed her way toward the safety of the lighthouse, following all the people who were coming in too. She climbed up the winding staircase back to the cozy parlor where everybody's trying to get dry and warm. After a saucer of milk, they snuggled down in their basket by the fire. Gracie was sleepy, and this time her kitten was too. The end. And that was Gracie, the Lighthouse Cat by Ruth Brown. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed our stories. I know I did. And I hope you have fun making our lighthouse. That could maybe be a nightlight for you for a while. Have a great rest of the day, and have a great rest of the summer from Miss Liz and the Rockville Center Public Library. Hope to see you soon.